love, loss, passion, loneliness, elation, sadness. Honestly, classical music can make us feel all of these emotions and so many more. If we just let it into our heart, let it into our very, very soul, we can feel every beat. We can feel every bit of passion. We can feel everything that the composers put into it, everything that the orchestra has put into their work. The amount of passion, the amount of hard work, the amount of dedication it takes to do great classical music and pour every ounce of emotion that you have, well, it's proof that classical music can tell a story with notes, not with words. And oh boy, what a story there is to tell in Tar. Written and directed by Todd Field, who did In the Bedroom and Little Children. And in retrospect, I really should have reworded how I did those titles. Probably I should say strike that, reverse it. But nevertheless, he hasn't done a movie since Little Children, and he's back in the director's chair. This is from Focus Features, and it features Cate Blanchett as Lydia Tarr, a composer that is breaking down gender barriers. She is the first female composer slash conductor of a German orchestra in Berlin. And in regards to this, before I go any further, Cate Blanchett, Oscar-worthy shit. I mean it. This Cate Blanchett is fucking phenomenal. I can't even describe. I mean, fucking phenomenal is the best way I can describe it. This is a movie you have to absolutely see as soon as you can. If it's playing in your theater, it is, just over 2.5 hours, and you have to be ready for a great character study, and you have to be ready to see Cate Blanchett play a variety of emotions. But I love Cate Blanchett in a lot of movies, and in particular, I loved her in Nightmare Alley. Nightmare Alley was one of my favorite movies of last year. She was great in it, and actually there's a few similarities as far as how characters that are really, really talented, uber talented, and just, you just want to see their talent, and then you see layers being peeled back, and you start to see maybe these really, really talented people aren't as great as I think they are. Maybe they are really human, and humans have flaws, and oh boy, does Cate Blanchett's character have flaws? Other people have flaws in this movie, do not misunderstand me, but that's kind of the similarities with that in Nightmare Alley. And actually, it is a bit of a social commentary on, how people who are so great at what they do, great at their art, are human at the end of the day. From directors, filmmakers, actors, sports athletes, whatever, anybody in a public forum of entertainment or athletics, anybody that's on stage that's a great stage actor. There are always going to be people that are so great at what they do. Alfred Hitchcock and various other actors, various other filmmakers that have a lot of skeletons in their closet. Read up on how Alfred Hitchcock treated his female co-stars, particularly Miss Hepburn. You'll know who I'm talking about. The whole point is Cate Blanchett deals with the conflicting emotions and the various layers and everything that she adds to this character. And from the word go, she is pedal to the metal, holds it up sky high. I can't praise this movie enough. This movie was absolutely phenomenal. This is one of the best movies I've seen this year. It's not going to be for everybody. I could totally see some people finding it boring, and I can understand if you don't want to see this in theaters. It was playing in my area, that's why I decided to go see it, because what the heck? I mean, why not? I'm up above 150 movies I've seen released this year, and I've seen a lot of direct, and I've seen a lot of good, and this is simply one of the best. Cate Blanchett, from, again, the word go, absolutely nails it, and from each scene, she keeps going, and she uses her set of skills, and not just acting skills, she did stuff like she was actually doing conducting during this. There were orchestra scenes that were 100% real. She was conducting this and doing a damn good job. There was one particular scene where she was teaching kids at Juilliard that was done in one continuous unbroken take. It was just the filmmaking, skills, camera work, Todd Field with his writing, directing. Everything about this just clicked. It clicked and kept clicking and kept just going. And I'm not going to say the movie is entirely the most perfect thing I've seen. This is a story that, while, Cate Blanchett does, it's something that there are similarities to other movies. It's very hard to do something that's wholly original. Again, there are a few issues that I do have that I do want to say, but they don't take away from how great this movie is. a few pacing issues at a couple points. It feels like it takes its time with some things and then pushes through a few other things. But it also makes sense as far as a frenetic pace and as far as everything's going fine. And then once that snowball starts rolling downhill, it really, really gets insane. And Kate Blanchett, again, really, really good. I do want to get into the rest of the cast, though, because there is Francesca, her assistant. I'm going to get this wrong. Nomi Merlant. Remember the brunette from Portrait of a Lady on Fire? Ah, thank you very much, Chris. Anytime I hear Portrait of a Lady on Fire, sorry, I can't help but do that, and that because that's what he did, because that's what best friends do. They get inside jokes inside your head. Be hard to have them outside your head. She was good in this, and she was great in Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Insert the scream. But I do want to address the elephant in the room. Very, very uncomfortable. Speaking of people that are really, really good actors or good at their art, but are kind of, scummy otherwise, I guess she went to the Luc Besson School of Dating. If you know, you know. She's dating somebody significantly younger than her. She is, I believe, 33, and she's dating somebody that's not 33, that's not even 20, that's not even 18 yet, and made a film about it. So you gotta separate the wrestler, you gotta separate the wrestler from the artist, you gotta separate the athlete from the real person, you gotta separate the actor from the real life person. And that's unfortunately something that has to be done in a lot of movies. You look back on all the stuff, aforementioned stuff about Alfred Hitchcock, Luc Besson, how he treated people. It's really, really seedy, isn't it? Like, there's so many great films, and then you read up and you're like, I just want to enjoy this. And I did enjoy this movie quite a bit, but I had to address, again, the elephant in the room. I'm going to have to go feed him something later. And Nina Haas plays Sharon, her Kate Blanchett's love interest in this, and they have a daughter together. And one other performance I really want to talk about. Mark Strong was good in this as well, Alan Cordner, but Sophie Kauer, Cauer, Kaur. I'm not actually sure how to pronounce her name. I do apologize. She is an actual cellist that this is her feature debut. And you wouldn't know that. You would not know that by looking at her and looking at how poised she is here. And I'm not going to say it's the most groundbreaking performance ever, but for a first time actress, for a first time actor, whatever, anybody that goes from one form to another, the cellist to this, she did great. She is going to be launched, maybe not into superstardom, she's going to be launched in at least some form of stardom if she wants to stick with this. If she just wants to only have this role, bless her, whatever. She's talented as hell. The orchestra pieces, the music is great. The way it dives into music, the way it dives into the, not even seedy underbelly, just how people, make deals and this kind of stuff. People are maybe too old for a certain job. And people that have certain skeletons that come back to, spoopy, scary skeletons and shivers down my spine. But everybody has complexities and flaws, and that is certainly the case when it comes to Kate Blanchett. I'm going to get into spoilers here in a bit, but I will say that the camera shots are great. It has a great tale of like how talent can only take you so far, especially if you have done anything particularly bad, and also how you got to be careful who you trust. And maybe if you yourself are not as trustworthy, maybe you need to look in the mirror and realize, hey, there's something that I did that I shouldn't have done. But it's great, and Kate Blanchett 100% deserves to be nominated for an Oscar. If she is not nominated for an Oscar for this role, I don't know what we're doing here. Because honestly, she ain't going to get much better than this. I mean, I'm not saying she can't deliver performances as good as this. I don't know how she's going to deliver ones a ton better than this. But Tar is 100% great. Again, even with the few issues I talked about, it still doesn't take away from the overall scheme, and the music and just the atmosphere, and it engulfs you. The environment is incredible. It's rich. It's beautiful. It's great. It's great. It's spectacular. It's a fucking spectacular film. Phenomenal. Fantastic. Now, I'm going to get into spoilers, though. I will say the spoilers will not take very long, but that's your warning right there. So go see it in theaters if it's playing in your area. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. Okay, so there's this thing going on where it turns out that Lydia, it kind of gets exposed that one former student, Krista Taylor, wasn't getting a lot of offers after being out of a certain school, or after being taught by Lydia, who it turns out her name's actually Linda, because it turns out she might have been lying about her background and her upbringing and stuff like that to make her seem better than she actually is. Even though she's really, really skilled at what she does, she's so passionate. But this Krista Taylor ended up, going basically unhinged, and she ended up, taking her own life. I want to say right now, if you ever feel like you were at that point, help is out there. Help is always out there. Now, this character did that. And the assistant, Francesca, Miss Merlant, knew about that. And knew about this and said, oh, she keeps emailing me, and Lydia just keeps saying, ignore it. Well, Francesca's kind of her understudy and her assistant, and she trusts her and stuff like that. Well, it also turns out there's maybe a reason as to why Francesca did what she did, and why she was trying to maybe inform her about all this stuff, inform her, licky boom boom down. Boy, there's a song. She, it turns out, was actually, working with people on a case, because it turns out that Krista may have had a reason as to why she felt slighted. Stuff starts coming out about Lydia, giving special consideration to people that do favors for her, sexual favors, even though she's in a relationship and whatever. And again, she's not the only person in entertainment or in music or whatever to do that, but still, you don't do that with students. What kind of sick person are you? And this stuff starts nipping at her heels. She also has a pill addiction, and she has her significant other seems to have some illness issues, like a weak heart, that kind of stuff. And some of this stuff's touched on. She also has negotiation with people. She has somebody who was her mentor, very, very old British guy that I didn't catch the actor's name. I've seen him in some stuff, but he has just a minor role. But then Sophie's Olga comes along. And obviously, this is one that's pretty much going to lead her down this lustful path. I mean, and, she sees somebody bright, young, beautiful, the hair and everything, and she just is so captivated by her. And you can see, even though they don't exactly say that. And then what ends up happening is, as this music goes on, and the orchestra stuff's beautifully done, so many great things, there's a scene in Juilliard early on where she kind of takes this one student to task for not liking Johann Sebastian Bach. And then somebody edits a video together and releases it, and it says, oh, it looks like you were being racist, and you were being, well, it looks like you were being mean to him, but you were also being sexual with him. It was the way they cut the video, and I mean, it was so badly done where I'm like, this doesn't prove anything. This is a bad hack job. But then it turns out all that stuff with Krista actually was true. And that starts to really weigh down on her. So her career is tumbling down. So, and Sharon's upset because she's like, well, wait a second, all this stuff's going on. Why didn't you tell me? Well, what could you have done? What could you really have done? And then her life just continues to unravel. At one point, this one guy's a guest conductor doing her piece, and she's freaking out. And this was actually in the beginning where she's walking out onto a stage hearing this music. She runs out and she just attacks this guy, beats him up because it's my piece. Well, now she clearly can't be trusted with an orchestra, and she runs away to the Philippines where she's going to do music there. And it's just like all this stuff happened in like a really, really quick fashion. Like a lot of that stuff happens within like the last 20, 30 minutes. I feel like the third act gets a little bit rushed, even though they take their time in the first two acts. And that's, again, my only real issue. But Cate Blanchett just does so much great. So rich. Such a rich performance. Powerful performance. And she doesn't pull any punches. I mean, she won't have any self-awareness. I mean, the character, as far as like any flaws or anything she did. And, slighting students and doing what she did. And the fact that she feels betrayed by her assistant. Yet she was the one that kind of put her assistant in that particular position because of what she did to Krista. That obviously meant a lot to Francesca. And there you go. Or Francesca, that's how it would be. I always mispronounce some of these names, as you can clearly tell when I try to pronounce Miss Merlant's first name. But again, just looking at how this movie is, filmed and how it's done, and the orchestra pieces, and the fact that she's now slumming it. Nobody knows what happens to the, former. Well, I mean, I don't know if they were married or they were just girlfriend and girlfriend, whatever, doesn't matter. I don't know what happened to her or the kid, but Lydia just takes off and goes to the Philippines. But not before she stops by her old house, and it turns out that her name is Linda, and her brother said something. She puts this tape in, and her dad did some orchestra stuff, and it was on VHS tape, and talking about the love of music and everything, and the stuff you feel, and you hear a lot of stuff she said that, or that he said that she used to talk to her classes. But that's all tits up now. But the people in the Philippines don't care one goddamn bit. There was also one funny reference where she had her hand in the water, and says, yeah, you might not want to do that. Why? Well, there's alligators, because Coppola, Apocalypse Now, Francis Ford Coppola, the Marlon Brando movie. That was just kind of thrown in there a little bit. It was a little bit odd, but Cate Blanchett carried this movie. I can understand some people not liking Tar. I really, really liked it. I'm giving this an A+. It is really, 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 really good. Really good. And Sophie Kauer, I guess, Kauer, once again, has to please do more roles. Please do more roles. You're really good. Like, anybody from this movie is going to watch this. This is a long review, me talking about a movie that was pretty long, but really, really good. Target's an A+. Agree, disagree what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Riplin. I'll see you soon.